Alrighty, this is the Travis Neville podcast. My name is Travis Neville. It is a beautiful day here in northern Michigan. Proud to be living up here, enjoying the solitude and quiet, and where I'm entertained by new friends and of course Yellowstone and NFL football. Last night was a big night for NFL football. I was watching the Buffalo Bills Cincinnati Bengals game. Big game, two great teams, two strong offenses, good quarterbacks, a lot on the line. And a player went down, and it's still unclear exactly what happened. There's just a bunch of rumors out there about exactly what, but he went off the field in an ambulance. They were performing CPR. So that's a thing I've never seen my entire career as a football enthusiast, as a player, as a coach, as a fan. Never seen that. So that's fairly severe. I mean, it's very severe. It's not fairly. And I found myself really kind of battling with that situation today, and I thought it was appropriate to talk about that here. Um, I think my initial reaction, I don't know if it's, I don't know, I guess it wasn't my initial reaction. Like last night, I didn't have enough information to really make a call, and I was preoccupied, so I wasn't really focusing on the game too much, but I did see it happen live, and I watched them not come back and play the game, which surprised me. And I woke up this morning thinking about that. I'm like, why didn't they finish the game? And I came to some conclusions that I don't like, and I'll tell you what they were. So initially, my feeling, and I haven't let this go all the way. I've been working on it, but I'm not all the way there. My immediate reaction, holy fuck, is our world getting soft? A guy got hurt, finish the game. Like, I didn't have any money on it. I didn't have, neither one of those is my team. So I didn't really, there's nothing selfish there. So I analyzed that. I'm like, all right, is this something why did I want them to finish the game? And this is what I think. And that's not me saying that's what I'm guessing. I'm telling you, this is what is going on in my head. Holy fuck, our world is getting soft. Finish the game. And I think like a teacher and a coach. And my thought is, you look around, and this is what I keep hearing everybody say. Well, Josh Allen was crying, the coaching staff was crying, everybody was staring into space, and they were really freaking out, and so you don't play. And I thought, we're teaching the wrong shit to kids. We're teaching kids that, you know, just cry, just freak out, just be mentally weak, and nobody will make you go on. You can just quit. You can just hang it up and go deal with it later. Um, Fallout of a COVID bullshit environment that we had to deal with, where that was the answer to everything. Oh, I got sniffles up, take 10 days off. That's become part of our society right now. And while I'm right, I'm definitely right that if this had happened 5 years ago, definitely had it happened 40 years ago, they would have finished the game. Like shit, even 20 years ago. The day when Dale Earnhardt crashed at the 2001 Daytona 500 and died. Not just any guy, he was the guy. They finished the race. Michael Waltrip won that race. 1971 Detroit Lions, Chuck Hughes, the only NFL player ever to die on the field. They finished the game. They're playing the Chicago Bears. There's a famous picture of Dick Butkus standing over Chuck Hughes's, Chuck Hughes laying there in the turf. So I'm like, well, they used to do it back then. I mean, what, yeah, has our society changed? Yeah, it has. And, I know all my haters are going to say it's changed for the better and we're so much more sensitive now. Is that good or isn't it good? I don't know. This is what I've been battling with because there's a big part of me that is going, man, that seems real cold, Travis. That seems like a real asshole thing to think about that. I mean, yeah, I don't like how the world is going, but when I'm the shift that I make, in order for me to make this make sense, in order for this to kind of make my peace with this, I've got to do this one, I got to make this one distinction, and that's that it's not, we're not at war here, okay? If it were war, I am absolutely right. And there aren't, if you're a dissenter on my opinion on this, uh, you are absolutely wrong. We don't quit because a guy got hurt or a guy, and he's alive, but it sounds like he's probably not going to come out okay. And obviously, that's a shitty situation. I have sensitivity for that for sure. Um, but it's a football game, right? Um, and, but, the thing I keep bouncing back to is my role as a leader, right? My role as a coach or teacher or just a man in my community, my role as a leader, that whenever there's adversity, whenever there is tension or difficulty, you should be in that habit too. You should be in that habit of, all right, what does the team, group, family, company, whatever, whoever's around you, what do they need the most right now? I'm going to provide it. And I kept looking at that situation. We got a whole team of people crying, professional football players, and coaches and no leaders on the team going, let's rally the troops, let's get them together. I would love to think that in that situation. And granted, it's it is a situation where the guy could die. Um, that takes it to another level. And again, it reminds you that it's just a game. But regardless of that situation, my instinct is to shut down myself from the any kind of emotion there, right? And lead. So I'm wondering, why did the coaches or the players, leaders of the team, not rally the troops and get them together and say, guys, I know you're hurting, but we're going to annihilate these guys and we're never going to lose another game. That's how this is going to go. You turn it into fuel. I can't help but think that way. That's how I think. That's what I do. That's what I've done for a long time. I try to lead. I try to get people in the right place and be available when others aren't and be calm when others aren't, to be, relentless in that pursuit, be as capable as I can, when I'm competing, because I know eyes are on me, right? Now, all of that said, I know that I am in a different situation than most. I don't have kids or a wife or a boss or anyone who's really counting on me. You know what I mean? No one is reliant on me. I have no dependents, truly. Right now I'm not coaching, I'm not teaching. I don't have a circle of people who are relying on me. Now, I might think like that. I always think like that. But I'm unusual. Most people have that web. I don't have that. So I have the luxury of being able to go hard and go strong and not have to wait, look around and check who's what everybody else is feeling, right? I have that luxury. Most people don't have that. Um, yeah, I would separate myself, I'd separate emotion from the mission, right? The mission is to win this game, and your emotions are getting in the way of that. I would consider the team over the individual, the good of the group over the few, and I would stay stoic in the face of adversity. That's my like default. That's what I would, yeah, that's my default. However, and I'm beating around the bush to get to this, um, I leave space for this idea. Okay, that team, those people, they are my responsibility. And if I look into, say I'm the head coach, and I look into the eyes of my offensive coordinator, or how about my DC, because that kid played defense. Look at my defensive coordinator, and I'm like, are you good? Like, are you really good? And if that guy isn't, okay, now I got to look at everybody else too. Look at my offensive coordinator, dude. Are you going to be able to do this? And not in a motherfucker, you better be able to. because I don't know if this is that kind of situation. It's not even the playoffs, right? It's a game, it's a big game, but and it's not war. It isn't life or death. It's not. It's a football game, right? We look at it that way and we use it as a tool to teach regular life, but it isn't that. It's not regular life. And I think this is an example of regular life impeding on fantasy world's the wrong way to say it, but impeding on this arena of your life that has certain limits to it. Like it can't ever go quite that bad, and it's not as bad as life or death, and it's not as good as your son being born, right? So it's just kind of in the middle, and it makes it a safer space. Sports are that, and the idea is that they'll teach you to be able to handle those other things that are outside of the realm of sports. I mean, that's what we're trying to do. I mean, that's how I've always thought about it as a coach. I want it to be a place where these young men learn to be able to handle any difficulty they may come across and have it teach them also how to handle appropriately any victory that they may come across. Because that's a thing too that needs to be handled correctly. People are watching you. Um, yeah, I think it just impedes on that. And I think that it's a reflection of my luxury that I haven't recently had to deal with anything life or death really in my life. And I don't even have anyone that's that close to me that, I don't live with anyone. You know what I mean? Like I don't have anybody who's I see every day. I don't. So yeah, I would look at my DC. I'd look at my OC and anybody else who I know to be a leader of that team, right? And if their heads aren't right, okay, if they can't go, then we can't go. Um, and from there, all right, so I look first, I'm like, all right, say my coordinators, everything is going well. Okay. And they're like, oh, yeah, dude, this is fucked up, but we're good. Like, we're good. Everything's okay. And I believe them. Then now we gotta talk to the team. So let's get them in the locker room and let's not give them time to fuel each other's kind of fire of freak outedness. I'd want to try to keep them from getting too immersed in the gravity of what just happened yet, right? So now I got to get a gauge on them. Now I got to maybe talk to them in smaller groups, have my position coaches talking to each of their groups and getting a gauge on where we are. Okay. And then I meet with the coaches again. Excuse me. It's obviously the Rona. I meet with the coaches again and we make a decision. All right. Can we do this or can't we? Now, for all I know, that's what went on in those locker rooms last night. I hope that's what went on. I think that's good leadership. Really, it is. And hopefully that's what went on. What I saw is the two coaches talking and making a very serious decision. Hey, man, it's on us. We're going to make this call. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? What are you looking at? What are you dealing with? What's going on here? How are we going to manage this? And, you know, for them, I have no doubt they made the right decision for them. I'm a little embarrassed that my reaction was that they were all afraid of social media reaction to this, getting blown out for on social media for doing this or doing that. I'm a little embarrassed that I thought that because I doubt that those are men who give a fuck about that in that moment. Now I know that, overall they realize that's a shitty part of the current world that we live in, but I doubt that they would let them make a decision like they made last night. I have that much faith in what it takes to really be, the NFL is one of those rare remaining things in the entire world, specifically here in the U.S., that it truly is a meritocracy. It doesn't matter what your last name is. It doesn't matter what you did yesterday. It doesn't matter how much money you have, what your personality is. It's can you get the job done? Can you get us the wins? That's all. And I believe in that very strongly. And that extends not just to the athletes, but certainly the coaches. I think the coaches are more on the hot seat than most athletes are. Um, if they can't get it done, they're gone. So I think that that's a very pure thing. And you don't get to the level of NFL coach at any level, without being pretty fucking good at what you do and having a lot of these intangibles the qualities that I talk about all the time, the things that are in my book, being capable and disciplined and instinctive and loyal and honest and decisive and all these things. Those guys all have it. And it's just a quantity question. Like the head coaches have a little more than the other guys, and that's how they ascend, right? So I'm sure they weren't looking at PR fallouts. I'm sure they weren't. And the NFL, from what I found out today, the NFL called down and said, "You guys got 5 minutes, you're playing." Right? So who knows what direction that goes? I'm not sure what exactly happened there, but like I said, I'm embarrassed that that was my gut reaction. I think that's me being a little caught up in the bullshit politics that I see a lot because this social media is a thing that I've chosen to do to sell books and to help men. Um, social media's got to be part of that. Um, and I accept that there are going to be, I'm going to have some fallout from that. And one of the pieces of fallout is sometimes you spend too much time looking at that shit or dealing with questions or whatever, and it can sour you. It can put you in a place you don't want to be. And that's the place I was in this morning when I got up. I'm like, this is all bullshit social media stuff. And like I said, I defaulted to that idea of our whole world is getting fucking soft. Finish the fucking game. There's a mission here. And I think that's me taking football too seriously. Now, the reason I take it so seriously is because I use it as a tool to teach adulthood, to teach manhood. That job is very serious, but football is just a tool. And I kind of got the two mixed up, I think. And I think at the professional level, they're not trying to make great men out of these guys. They don't have the time. They're just trying to win football games, and that's it, right? And they come in, they're already men. They're 22, 23 years old, whatever it is, and that it probably isn't part of their purview. In college, they're still doing that. They're still trying to make you a better person. Heard this story about Isaiah Thomas. He was talking about, Isaiah Thomas, who played for the Detroit Pistons and the Bad Boys, back-to-back championships, 89, 90. What's up? Um, anyway, he was being recruited to go to play at Indiana, and Bob Knight's in his house, and he's talking to his mom, and he says to his mom, Bob Knight says to Mrs. Thomas, "I can promise you three things. He'll get a great education. I'm going to teach him everything I know about the game of basketball, and he'll be a gentleman." And that's, at that point, you're pitching to the parents, right? Because you're still developing young men. You're trying to turn them into adult men. And that angle, which is 100% my angle, okay, that's why I'm even involved in football at all, other than watching it on TV. It's to develop young men, all right, turn them into better adults, better adult men. And that's a thing that happens in college, but probably in the pros, they're not thinking about that too much. Let me finish the story about Isaiah Thomas. His mom, Isaiah Thomas's mom said, "You're going down to kind of Hicksville, Indiana. Um, there's a strong Klan presence there. Who's gonna who's gonna protect him from all the racists and all that shit? Because he's a black kid, Isaiah." And um, Bob Knight, without bat and eyelash, says, "If we are winning, the Klan will protect him." In other words, that's how important basketball is in Indiana. It supersedes all other things, all other pursuits, which I like that purity. I do, and I think I'm demonstrating that purity, that single-mindedness towards my goal of developing young men. Um, but I think that back to the story here, back to the NFL thing. Um, I would love to tell you that every coach on my staff, I would have had developed them to be able to handle something like that. Excuse me, and do what I would do, and that's to smash down my emotions for now, okay? Because there's shit to do. We got people that are counting on us. We've got to do our job. We got to do it as well as possible, and we can't let them down. You know what I mean? I would love to tell you that every coach on my staff would react just like that. But I've been on great staffs that were very well bonded together, guys who knew each other really well, and I trusted limitlessly about stuff like that. I think about the guys that I coached with at South Lake. They were excellent at what they did. I'm still friends with them, and But you never know. I mean, maybe this is a kid that you had a really good relationship with, and you just can't get your shit together after that. You're fucked up, and you're not gonna be able to go. Now I'm gonna be able to see that in your face. That's why I would start at the top leadership and then kind of work my way down from there and figure out, who can do it and if they can do it and if they can't. If they can do it, we'll do it. But and I'm not saying it's right or it's wrong if they can't go. I would like it if that weren't the case. I'm just saying that it is. I'm looking to see if it's there or not. We'll make a judgment on it, I suppose, later. Um, but right now, I got to look at what we have in the moment. Do we have our best leadership available? If one of those guys is out, we're out. Like it's probably not going to happen. If I look at my group of kids and they're out of their minds and there's no way I'm going to be able to get them back on track, well, then I'm putting them in harm's way. You know what I mean? It's just the same as if, say, you are at war. And I walk and I look across my troops, and every one of them, their rifles are broken. That's the level of incapacitated. I think that's the parallel, right, to maybe what was going on last night, that they would have been unable to do anything well and to do anything safely. Without focus, it's a pretty fucking dangerous game. At that level, those guys are real big, real fast, and very able to hit you. And if you aren't at your best, you are in harm's way. You are vulnerable. And if I saw that in my people, in my just like split second, I'd be like, fuck. But then I'd be like, well, I know what I have to do. Like it's my responsibility to take care of these people. So I would shut it. I'd trot across the field and I'd talk to the other coach and say, listen, man, my guys can't go. What are you looking at? You know what I mean? Or whatever I needed to do to convey my situation, right? And I think that is good leadership. I think that's knowing your people. When I was in college, college, I had a teacher. He wasn't a professor. He was actually a D-line coach for the football team. And he told me that, their coaches used to be like Bob Knight. I was talking about him, and I made him sound like he was, and he was. Bob Knight had a great side to him where he was a gentleman and had good manners and all that stuff. But Bill Parcells, the old school yell at you guys, right? He said that to me. He said, that approach, it'll still work. Now, granted, this is the late '90s. I mean, it's 25 years ago, but he said that will still work. You'll win games, but you'll never be a championship level team because the kids will be playing scared. The new coaches, the coaches that are going to be successful moving forward are coaches like Mike Krzyzewski at Duke. Coach K called him. Said that guy coaches through the eyes of his players. In other words, he's talking to him. This is something I did as a teacher without even realizing it, but I think every good teacher does this. You are always gauging reaction. Like you're not on TV. It's an interaction. You're sitting in a classroom and you are looking at their eyes to see, because their faces will tell you if they get it or if they don't, if they have a question, if they don't like it, you'll see it. They can't hide that shit. You know what I mean? They can't. So that's what that's what this coach told me. He's like, you need to coach through the eyes of your players, like Coach K does, because that's what's going to rule moving forward. And he's been right. Holy shit, it's been 25 years, and that's how the best coaches are. I mean, there really aren't a lot of those screamer yeller guys anymore. They're pretty much gone. Like I even look in high schools, and I know one staff where they scream and yell at each other and scream and yell at the players, and they can't keep a kid in their program, so they recruit on the outside, pull kids in from the outside that are only going to be there for a little while because they'd get sick of the bullshit. You know what I mean? Everybody does when you're in a program like that. Um, anyway, I think that's what I would do. And granted, I'm Monday morning quarterbacking the shit out of this. It's 24 hours later, and I've done a lot of thinking about it and a lot of talking to my people that I trust, other football minds, other coaches, other leaders, kicking this around. Because, like I said, my initial reaction of going into why is our world so fucking soft didn't really sit well with me. It didn't feel real good. Like sometimes I know that what it was my heart and my mind were in different places on it. My mind was frustrated about the world, and it was misplaced on this game. But my heart was like, "Ah, bro, that's probably not what you would do." you know. And yeah, and I'm telling you what I would do. I would look at all my leaders, and then I'd work my way down and see what I'm dealing with here. What's the situation? Can I put them back into battle, or can't I? And if I can't, I wouldn't. I wouldn't like it, but it is. Okay, you can't. Too many people want to argue what should be, or what could be, or what ought to be in the world, and I've been caught in that shit too. But this is what is. What is you got guys in front of you who can't go. They can't. So you're irresponsible, and you're being stubborn and probably being an asshole if you make them go. Um, Now, all of that said, should a conversation happen with the, I keep saying kids, but I mean athletes, right? They hopefully will look into their own hearts, look into their own memory of that situation, and do some assessing. And that assessment that I would encourage is this. If we were in the middle of battle, closest you'll ever get to it, you're an NFL football player, you're not a soldier. So this is the most intense, adverse thing probably for most of them they've ever dealt with. And remember, I'm thinking about, hey, how can we make them better at life? Okay. So I would find a way to softly, I hate using that word, um, encourage them to assess their reaction to that situation. If their reaction was to break down and lose all mental strength, well, then that's a thing we maybe need to work on. If they don't work on it on their own. And again, I'm not saying fuck you, you're a piece of shit. I'm saying I want you to be as strong as possible, because this is just a football game. And yeah, you got teammates all around you. You got a ton of peers here, but you have no one looking up to you. Not directly. You got people on TV, fans, maybe some of you have kids. But in this certain environment, right here in the locker room, it's just you and your brothers. There's no one, you have no dependents here. And it's important to me to make you the best you can be, help you make yourself the best you can be for those dependents. And does that include remaining stoic in the face of tremendous adversity? It fucking does. Absolutely. And if that's a thing I can impart to you, if it's a thing I can help you to bring out of yourself, then I'm going to do it. And, I've learned how to do that. I mean, I've broken down emotionally, out of control. I can count on one hand the amount of times in my life. And that's probably a lot to do with the fact that, thankfully, I haven't had a whole shit ton of adversity. You know what I mean? Like, I haven't experienced a lot of death in my life, and I hope that goes as long as possible. I'm not naive enough to think that it'll end. It's never going to end. But, um, yeah, it snuck up on me a couple of times in my life. Um, but the rest of the time, I've been very successful at, like, hey, I can't break down right now. I got other shit I got to deal with. I go into alert mode. Like, I got to help these kids, or I got to help these people, or what, that's I default go into that mode because I've been in it a few times. Again, on diet mode, right? On light mode. Like if it's a fire drill, or you know what I mean? Like essentially fire drill, I think is the perfect word for it. We're faking like it's a big deal. I'm pretty good in those situations, but I haven't been in any real serious ones. I was a pallbearer at one point for my uncle, and I was walking and I was fine. And I was talking myself through it. I'm like, I'm good. I'm going to get you. I was actually talking right to him, like, man, I'm going to get you here. Don't worry, buddy. I got you. I'm going to get you here. I'm going to get you where you need to go. And I got him where he needed to go. And I took about 3 steps away from that hearse, and I fucking lost it. Like, I had no control. I walked out into the field, and I just lost my mind, and I got it all out, and nobody was looking, and I was okay. I think my aunt came over and helped me out. But um, yeah, I think, again, I go back to this, hey, leadership. You need to learn how to be able to do that so that you can lead your people. And then when the time is right, you deal with your feelings, whether it's with your brothers, whether it's with your partner, or just with yourself. You know, um, you have to. That's a skill you got to be able to do. You can't break down and lose your shit. You know, it's an unpopular opinion, but fucking all my opinions are unpopular. No? Yeah, so again, I had a real hard stance on it this morning. The more I thought about it, the more I worked at it, the more I really kind of understood the situation. Um, and I'm not the Bob Knight guy. I'm not the screaming, yelling Bill Parcells guy. Not at all. I mean, I challenge you to find even a football coach that I've worked with in my career that'll tell you that Coach Neville yells all the time. I don't. I mean, one time I lit kids up at halftime that I can remember in my whole career, and I regret it. I've seen those kids since and apologized to them, you know. Um, anyway, yeah, like I said, I started off real harsh on that, not feeling good about my harsh reaction, and that's why I reached out to men that I respect and love to ask them about it. Um, but I think I'm where I need to be on it now, and I think, now I go back to those coaches last night. They didn't have a day to talk to their people, figure out what the fuck to do. They had to make a decision right now. Comparatively, they had 5, 10 minutes to figure it out. And plus, maybe some of them dealing with their own emotions, no doubt. They spent a lot of time with those guys. I understand that. And anyway, the reason I wanted to talk about this was not so I could self-therapize. It's so I could explain to you in more depth, leadership, how it works, what the exceptions are, what the issues are, what the things that you have to weigh are going to be sometimes, and what's riding on it. And what was riding on last night, a bunch of people who are going to get their money back for tickets, a bunch of people who made bets in Vegas who will make them again. A team that can reschedule. I'd be surprised if they don't play it again this week or maybe during wild card weekend. Who knows? Um, they can figure all that shit out. It isn't war. It's real life jumping into a real life role play. And that sobers people really quickly. And I think that's what happened. And I look around at my group of friends and I think it hit them much more quickly than it hit me. But it's because they have lives they have a lot more to lose, right? They've got families, they've got jobs, careers, all this stuff. They've got all these different things that they're closer to the surface for them. Makes sense. Anyway, leadership as it relates to a guy going down on the football field. I hope that in some way this conversation today helped you get your shit together. Have a great week.